I will welcome everyone, and then I put together a little small video package on you.
Okay.
Then we're going to do it.
Oh,
like this. I 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 like this.
Great evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another broadcast of the Victim No More podcast. My name is Bobby Patterson, aka Bobby P, and this evening you're in for a treat as usual. This individual I had happened to have met, shortly after the event in Houston, Texas, and in the process of meeting them, I recognized very quickly that first of all, this is someone who is their trajectory is on the way up, but they have a unique story. They do not have what you may call the typical transformation story. I think the transformation is more internal than anything else, and they are a tremendous leader. I saw that right off the top. But before we actually bring them on, as far as the interview is concerned, first of all, please share. Please tag someone. I believe that she has something of value to share with everyone this evening. And this is going to be one for the books for sure. But before we bring them on, let me just run this small video package so that you can get a glimpse as to who going to be the special individual this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you the amazing, the incredible Executive Director with Total Life Changes, Miss Maxine Campbell. Welcome to the Victim No More podcast.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm looking at those stuff. I'm like, wow. Sometimes I'm still shocked. Like when I post things, I'm in the vein right now of just reinventing myself. So when people show me pictures of my own self, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. Or, but thank you so much, Mr. Bobby Patterson, for just this opportunity, just to, share on your platform, just about my story. I'm really, really honored because I don't really, I don't share, the story much or anything, about that side or that event that happened. And I've come a long way, with sharing that. So I really, really appreciate, this opportunity. Thank you.
Right. And the whole intention as far as this podcast is concerned is what I didn't want to do is turn it into another infomercial. The products are amazing, but that's not the focal point when people are telling their stories. Their stories have much more value to them. And the value of those particular stories are what resonates with other people. They connect with people. The products is a given, and we will talk about the products some, but the quality, the gift are the individuals who are sharing their stories, because Total Life Changes gives us an atmosphere, an arena for us to be ourselves.
Yeah.
And number two, evolve and literally become who we were ordained to be from the foundation of this earth. And so that's why when I first listened to you, I was like, okay, without even knowing that you had a story, I just knew you had one because of how you speak. You speak with authority. You speak with I know that I know that I know type of spirit. And I'm like, okay, this she's unique. I've got to talk to her. And so that's how we kind of met and gelled. And what I want to do is actually just start kind of like, a young Maxine, as a teenager, and then growing into her womanhood, and sort of kind of like building into, where we are today, who Maxine is today. So as a young woman, growing into a womanhood, who was Maxine at that time?
Wow. And I do apologize. I keep putting my thing on mute because my dog is here barking.
Okay.
So I think I forget when I was sharing this, but so as a I was born in Jamaica, and I came here when I was very, very small. So a lot of people are like, oh, you're not Jamaican. No, I am very much Jamaican, and I was raised by my grandmother and my aunts. Okay, and I say that my mom was there too, but my mom was always working. I know my mom to just always be working, so it was just my grandmother and my aunts. So in me is instilled that old, not old, but traditional Caribbean upbringing.
Right.
You're gonna look people in the eye when you're speaking to them. When I'm speaking to my grandmother, is yes, mommy, no, mummy. You come when you're called. Like you're not in the room, just just different things like that. Like you come to her. And so but it's funny. I really started to realize that I was different, and I'm going someplace, but I was different when I was a teenager, because there was just always something like I never really fit in, and I always wanted to fit in, but there was just something that never allowed me to fit in. I knew in deep down inside that I was different. And the reason why I was different, because God had a calling on my life that I know now, and that, I was meant to stand out. And so I got saved, in a very, very young age. I got saved at the age of 15, and I was the only one saved in my household. And so at that time, how, you're familiar with the transformation, of the heart,
Right.
It's just like this, you're saved immediately, but the conversion part, like
Right. You got to walk
like
that
a
out.
lifetime. Oh man. Yeah. So
Right.
I understood that. And so And so in that, I had a lot of secular friends, a lot of friends that weren't saved. I think I was mainly the only one that was saved in my circle. Growing up, I grew up in Mount Vernon, New York. And, I just always knew that there was something, I started to like really, as the years went on, throughout junior high and high school, really started to see myself being different, very, very friendly, compassionate, not very aggressive. I didn't know what that was for. I didn't know what that was about. I thought I was a punk.
Oh my goodness.
I thought I wasn't aggressive. I'm not a fighter like that. You meet
Right.
some people like they're just raw, like they're just
Right.
super duper aggressive. Like that's not me, and it'll never be me, And so I just started to really realize those things about me, throughout high school and, throughout college. And so, you know how it is when you first get saved, man, you on fire for God, you're on fire for
Right.
God. And, I want to definitely, you definitely got to give honor and credit to whom it's due. And I have to give one of my aunts, she's actually like one of my favorite aunts. She was the one that brought me to the Lord. And I'm telling you today, I owe her everything. Oh, I'm gonna try not to get emotional, but I owe her everything because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't know God the way that I know him,
Right.
and so I just, I was raised in church, since a very, very young age. I was raised to serve. That's another thing that I didn't understand. I've been serving since maybe, 9-10 years old in church. Whenever there was a youth service, I was there. I was ushering, I was greeting,
Right.
Bible study, I was serving. So that is a part of me. Like I can't, I'm always serving. I serve at church. I serve like where it is. And so that's what I've also instilled in my own children, that we're going to go to church and we're going to serve,
Okay.
And so with the, there was actually preceding the event, that you caught, on the live. And I don't know, I don't even think I came on to share that, but I was just kind of led in that direction. Because like I said,
Right.
I don't share that often. I share it really when I'm led, because it's really not something that I just, this happened to me,
Right. Because you don't want to
but yeah,
paint the picture of being a victim.
exactly.
And so I definitely get it. I get it.
Yeah. And so before that, honestly, something had happened. My dad had passed away shortly after I had my daughter. I was actually living in Raleigh, North Carolina, and my dad passed away. And that really, that set me off on a different path as far as, having this dad around, or this being protected, this sense of being protected and protection. And so I always felt like, after my father died, that like, man, who's going to protect me now? Who's going to, as far as, I knew I had my heavenly father, and, but I was just like, my father is one that I can go to if someone, mess with me or whatever, I can go to him. And so I struggled with that, a little bit. And so, going through college, I went to college down south. I ended up finishing up, in New York, because I had my daughter, down south there, had to, stop going to school, had to, work, full time to take care of my daughter. And yeah. And so, it's funny, I tried, actually, that was, so after I had my daughter, I went back, to New York after a while, trying to figure out like, how am I going to do school and work and different things like that. And, in the South, rent could be $500 if you don't have a car and a stable job. Like you can be struggling,
Right.
And so that's what it was. It was just very, very difficult for me. And so I had to go back home. I mean, and I hated the fact that I had to go back home to New York, because I wanted to stay in Raleigh. I wanted to stay in North Carolina.
Right.
And so, that just led me to going back to New York. I just worked. I put school on the back burner. I put everything that I wanted to do, on the back burner for myself in order to work and to provide for my daughter. And then, one thing led to another. Then I got pregnant again. And, granted, this time, like spiritually, once again, like I told you, my dad was gone. So, I've always been one to really, really embrace and desire companionship. And so, I just, yeah. So one thing about me at that time in my life, everything was good. I was good. I was able to get a job. Okay. I had favor in that area. I knew my personality, there was nothing that I was struggling with.
Right.
I was able to allow God to be Lord of every single area of my life except one. And that was my relationship.
Oh,
I didn't want him to touch that. I didn't want him to do nothing in that area right there.
yeah, because
Everything else,
that's
God.
another level of accountability.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can totally understand that as well.
Yeah, everything, God, you could have. You could tell me, you could be Lord. You could tell me what to do. You could come tell me what direction to go. But this right here, this relationship and with men and stuff like that, I got it. I got it.
Mhm.
And so, needless to say, my choices in that, weren't always God choices. They might, they weren't always God choices.
Right.
And so, because of that, it led me to make decisions that weren't God's very best for me. And
Mhm.
so that kind of led up to the decision making, even in me getting pregnant, with my son. And then when I got pregnant with my son, I mean, just it was just like a whole turn shifting of everything started to happen. Here I was again alone, and now I was alone pregnant. And like I said, I didn't really want God to be to take over my relationship arena. And then here I was now pregnant, alone, just, went back and forth about, actually going through with the pregnancy. Then when I made a decision to go through with the pregnancy, I knew I was going to be alone. That's when I wanted God. That's when I wanted God in the relationships
Okay.
now. That's when, I honestly, I rededicated my life completely. I gave him everything. It wasn't just, you have parents that are co-parenting, and you have some that, they got them on the weekends, and then some got, you got them every other weekend.
Right.
It was a full custody. All right. It was a full custody. He had everything. And that's what I went through at this time. Like I said, rededicated everything back to God, surrendered everything because I wanted that, I wanted
Right.
that. And I know I needed him. And Bobby, can I tell you, you already know when you make a decision, especially, for example, you make a decision to fast, ain't it just like, I mean, you got folks inviting
Oh
you
yeah.
over to functions and cakes and lasagna and chicken and
And everything
oxtail
smell extra
and
good.
yeah, everything. You done made this decision now. While you was praying, the enemy was right there like, oh, okay, you think you are fast? Okay, I got you, right? And so that's exactly what happened. I made a decision, I made a choice to just really, really fully allow God to invade every area of my life, especially the area of relationship. And then the enemy had made me believe that was the worst decision ever, because all hell broke loose after that. All hell broke loose after that. And that's the part that you came in on that live with the shooting, Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I know we get ready to go into somewhat of a sensitive area. I want you to feel as free as much as you are led to share.
Okay.
So I'm kind of letting you, take this because that is a sensitive area,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
but all at the same time, I know that someone watching this has been through some similar situations, and they haven't quite seen themselves out of it. What
Got you.
I'm after is the through, and you're
Got you. Yeah,
standing
yeah,
on
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
other side of through. So, just take it, from the beginning, and however you're led to share,
Yeah.
do that.
Okay. So it's funny because right, I woke up like literally a half hour before this started, and I don't know, I was just doing a lot, and so before I knew I was going to take a nap, And when I took a nap, I knew I was going to do the broadcast. And I said, God, just whatever you want to do with the story, whatever you want to do with the story. And it's crazy because the last month and a half, I've just been hearing, you know, you just need to speak. You just need to speak. You need to be on, you know, platforms to speak. And then, you know, God will do the rest. And so the other day, I was listening to some music. My daughter had sent me this playlist of worship music, and I was listening to it. And I had, you know, I was getting dressed, and you know how worship music could do. It could really throw you in the zone. You know, it don't matter where you are. You could be in a car, grocery store, man. You got to pause. And so I had to, you know what it is. Sometimes you got to pull over. Sometimes you got to, you know, because you're closing your eyes. You don't want to be closing your eyes driving, you know. So
yeah, or throwing your hands up while you're driving. Yeah, that usually don't work too well.
Exactly. So you know what I'm talking about. So at this moment, and I don't remember the song, but I knew that I got into a zone and wherein I started anointing my scars. I have many scars from this shooting, right? Well, many, but more like very, very significant ones. And I started anointing it. I have some oil that was prayed over years ago in a jar. And I started anointing the scars, just putting the oil on the scars. I've never done that before.
Okay.
Like, you know, you lotion up or whatever, but I've never intentionally done that. And I just went into this moment of extreme gratitude for my scars, because for many, many years, even now a little bit, just very, very, I feel some type of way about the scars, you know, because I've never looked like that, you know? And so, I just went into this extreme gratitude to God for his power and just how he saw fit, like for me, like me who ran from him, me who, you know, just made so many choices, me who didn't play full out with him, you know, me who, you know, just made so many decisions of, you know, like really just falling short daily. And I just, I'm always in awe, like to the point where I'm on my knees, that God will see fit to do what he did for me. And then, you know, like I said, for the past month or so, I've just been receiving confirmation. Somebody said something to me that really, really, I looked at it differently. I was just like, the person said to me, you know, you think it was really for you. It was really for your son because of how everything played out. You were just a vessel, right? Even though you do have a story, you know, the way everything played out. And so, you know, anytime I share this story, my main thing that I would like to really for people to get, you know, is that there is this, and that's what I spoke on a live. There's absolutely no situation here on earth that God is not able to interrupt, to be able to work out on your behalf. Like, I don't care what it is, right? And he showed me that several ways in this event. And so this event, and I had to get my book. I don't even open this book a lot because it just kind of brings me into, it reminds me of where I was. I was really in a dark place mentally. Like I said, I really desire compassion after my dad died. It kind of like just exasperated, you know, and my thinking, I wasn't, you know, where I am now spiritually, you know, definitely not business wise. But this book right here, I think I bought this book maybe from Target or something. I love journals. I have several of them. But this book right here is my journal. And the first date is March 7th, 2006. And this is when I started to really, really search for God. Like, okay, God, if you want me to have this baby, you know, then I need you to be with me. You know, my son's father had just disappeared and stuff like that. I, you know, was trying to speak to my family about, you know, not having him, you know what I mean? And they were just, you know, talking to me about that, kind of work with me through that, because I knew that I was going to be by myself. I didn't want to go through with it. You know, it was easier for me to get rid of the baby than to have the baby. And so, like I said, I started to just really, really seek after God. I started to going back to church, just really, really being intentional about my relationship. And so in doing that, everything that the enemy could throw at me, he threw at me, everything that, just every single thing. And I can remember, this particular individual that carried out what she carried out. She just began, she was used, and just really, really began, with the harassment and just the aggravation, calling and hanging up, and back then, I think they still have it now, you could press *67 and, to block your number, you don't want nobody to see that you're calling and stuff like that. So, she would do that. She would just text and say, that I'm going to die. She hopes that I die. And, she wants me to die in childbirth and, all these different things. And so the whole thing is, for those of you who do not know the story, you probably don't. You can actually Google my name. That's how crazy it is. You can actually Google my name, and just put in the description, like put my name in there and just put, 2006 pregnant woman shot. Okay. And in Mount Vernon and it'll come up. All right. And so what happened was, my son's father had, really, he had multiple women. And this is how, I was not in a good place spiritually, because once again, I shut God out of that area. Right. Okay. I was okay with that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was gone. That wasn't even you.
Okay. All right. Okay.
That wasn't even you.
Exactly. Thank you. So initially being with him, I knew that he had other women, but I was okay with that. Number one, because I knew that we weren't going to ever really be together seriously because of that. But the companionship piece, I was okay. Because I was receiving companionship, I was okay.
So the compromise was you was good with that.
Exactly. Exactly. And so, so this particular individual, had, children for him, and she had just had, a child for him that I didn't know until later on. And so she discovered that, I was pregnant, I was going to keep the baby, and she was not happy with that. Okay. She was not happy with that. And so, like I said, the phone call started to come, and she discovered where I worked, and the phone call started to come there. And listen, Bobby, I kid you not, it just escalated. Every single month, something more and more drastic happened. If it wasn't her lurking out at my job, probably like 6 a.m. in the morning, because I had to be at work at like 7 sometimes. Wow. I had worked at a insurance company, and just so she can see what kind of car I drive. She never knew where I lived. She knew, where my grandmother lived. But she was able to see me. And, I can remember one time leaving work for a doctor's appointment and seeing, at that time, I was driving my uncle's truck, and I came out in the back, and the truck was leaning on the side. She had slashed both of the tires,
Wow.
Yeah. And so I was just like, and so during these incidences and things that she's doing, I'm sharing with my family, I'm sharing with his family, and she would never, tell the truth. She always said it wasn't her. She would always say, I'm lying, or different things like that. So I began to, I don't even know why, and my mind works like this even now to this day, but I began to, every time I see her with the car, I would it was like a picture that I would take in my mind. I knew the color of the car. I knew the license plate. I knew exactly what was on the floor. I knew who was what, things just started to happen like that. And so as they happen like that, I would write them here. As they happen like that, I will write them. And literally, today, such and such happened, she called and she hung up, or she asked me to get rid of the baby, different things like that. And so I just wanted her to leave me alone. Because once again, I'm not aggressive. I don't like drama. I actually, have a phobia for drama and conflict that I would run. I used to really I'm a runner naturally. I'm a long distance runner, but literally I could be a runner. Running. Yeah, I would run.
You would much rather run than confront.
There you go. Oh my God, it's so horrible. But I've gotten better. But yeah, so I did that. And literally I would move me and my children from states. I would leave. And I've done that about maybe 3 or 4 times. Running, like you said, rather than confronting, I ran. And so, so I didn't want to, you know, I just wanted her to leave me alone, you know, but she wasn't, you know, just, you know, she wasn't. And so, you know, it started to get bad at my job, wherein my supervisor would say, you know, Maxine, you really need to press charges, especially after the tire and stuff. But I knew she had kids. I didn't want any trouble. I just wanted her to leave me alone. So I never pressed charges. And it wasn't until one night, and my best friend would always be speaking to me on the phone, you know, certain people at my job, even to this day, I have such a connectedness to them spiritually just because of simple things that they did for me throughout this time. And so it wasn't until one night when she texted me and she said that I was going to die and that I needed to call 911. And I started to become afraid because here I am now getting further along in my pregnancy. If she wanted to do anything, I can't really defend myself, right? And so there was times when she said, when she see me, the different things that she would do to me. And so there was one particular time I was driving down a hill, and we were talking on the phone, going back and forth. And she said, you know, she kept on asking me to like have an abortion. And I kept telling her, you know, I'm not, you know, it is what it is. I'm going to have the baby. And, you know, she was saying whatever she was going to do to me, you know, when she see me. And I said, you know what, whatever you do to me, I know that that's something that God is going to allow. Because once again, I'm still going to church. Okay. I'm still, you know what I'm saying? And mind you, when I'm going to church, Bobby, like every single Sunday, I'm at the altar, like bawling, because it's just like, what have I done to myself? Why did I get myself in this situation? You know, here I am reconnecting back to Christ, and all of this stuff is happening. So I really didn't know what was going on. And so, you know, fast forward this one night, you know, when she texted that to me, I went to the police station. And that was my first time ever, you know, and now I'm about like 8 months pregnant. And I went to the police station. And when I went to the police station, you know, I was trying to show the officer at the desk, you know, the text message. But, you know, once again, it didn't have a name, you know. So I said that I wanted to get a restraining order. And he encouraged me really not to. Okay, because he said it would just be a paper trail. It's, you know, your word against hers. You don't really, you know. And first of all, I didn't understand that. And so I left there really, really discouraged, like just feeling very, very helpless. And so,
not to cut you off, but that right there, the way that a lot of law enforcement handle situations like that put a lot of women in danger.
Yes.
Because they don't really see the urgency of at least putting something in place.
Yes.
Or at least if it's nothing else but a paper trail.
Thank you.
Because this is about to get ridiculous here for you as you go into it. But there are so many incidents that women deal with day in and day out. And the response from law enforcement sometimes just like that puts them in even more danger. So
absolutely correct.
I really had to, you know, chime in on that.
Yeah, no, that is so correct. That is so correct. And it was that, you know, and at the time I didn't know like exactly what you said, like at least put something down on paper in the event something happens, you know, here I'm not knowing something is going to happen. And so, you know, you fast forward, I left my job early because, you know, like I said, it just started getting really, really crazy with the phone calls. No exaggeration. She would call every hour, you know, every hour. It was like nonstop. And so my supervisor, you know, it's a place of business. They're able to record these things. And so, you know, people would call and ask for me and say, oh, tell her it's her cousin, Jennifer. Mind you, I don't have a cousin, Jennifer, you know, and all these different things. And so one night, you know, now everyone knows what's going on. Everyone knows that, you know, she's harassing me. Everyone knows the different things that she's saying, because there are times when I even had her on speakerphone, you know, at my mother's house, and her going off and saying what she's going to do. And now my aunts are like, they're livid. Like everyone's like, okay, whatever, why don't you come here? You want to do all of that? Like, we live at such and such, you know, come and do whatever you feel like you need to do. And she never did. And so this particular night, I was at my grandmother's house with my daughter, and there was another little boy there that my grandmother was watching, and I went to go get pizza. And I mean, it was so bad that my grandmother didn't want me traveling by myself. You know, everyone was really afraid because she comes from a family of like this. They're just known for being in and out of jail, doing different things. They're in the paper. I mean, they're just known for just, you know, crazy, evil things. Yeah. And so I went to, you know, I was telling my grandmother that I'll be okay. She told me, you know, to wait for my brother, whatever. I said, no, you know, I'll be fine. And it was like maybe 7, maybe after a little bit after 7 at night. And I, you know, I walked to the pizza shop. I was coming back, and here it goes again, the car that I always saw. But this time it was a different car. It was the same car, but it was a different color, and it had a spoiler. However, I knew it was her because she always wore the same ponytail. And this time, rather than sitting in the passenger side, she was sitting in the driver's seat. And she was parked across the street from my grandmother's house. And I was just like, you know, like this, you know, this girl don't let up, you know. So as I'm walking, you know, as I'm walking down, I started to call my grandmother. My grandmother's house is like the hub of everything. You could call her. She know that she don't got no kids in school, but she know when school is out. She know the weather. She know, you know what I'm saying? She know everything. So she always answers her phone. So this particular time though, as I was calling her, she did not answer. She did not answer the phone. I kept calling. She did not answer the phone. And so I'm getting closer to the car. And the reason why I'm calling her is because I wanted her to come outside because so that she can also see her. And my aunt's boyfriend was upstairs. I wanted him to come outside because, you know, once again, she's like lying, saying it's not her, but no one was answering. So I crossed the street and I wanted to look her in her eye. I don't even know why, but now, you know, I crossed the street. I have a big pizza box in my hand and I crossed the street and she is looking at the person in the passenger seat. And the person in the passenger seat has on a hood. And so she finally turns around. She looks at me. She comes out the car. So what I'm thinking now is like, oh, man, dang, I had a fight. You know what I'm saying? I'm about to have a fight. You know, I'm 9 months pregnant. This is crazy. You know, it's night. It's dark, you know, outside. And yeah, I'm essentially about to have a fight. So in my mind, I'm thinking, you know, she's going to punch me in my stomach. She's going to, you know, kick me, you know, but I know that we're about to have a fight, you know?
Right.
And so when she comes out the car, she has her hand, her right hand in her back pocket. And so I'm still trying to like, I have my phone, you know, about to open it that, you know, I don't know if you remember back then with the Nextel phones with the walkie talkie, but I had a Nextel phone. So I was trying to like, you know, open the phone, you know, the little chirp, you know, I was trying to do all of that. And so she said, you know, what are you doing? You know? So I said to her, I said, you know, well, I'm calling my grandmother because this is stupid. And as soon as I said that, she knocks the pizza box out my hand and she reaches over and she shoots me in my side. So all of this happened like so fast. Like I saw the gun. I saw like it had a revolver. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, she just shot me with a BB gun, you know, like she just shot me with a BB gun. And everything after this point was like slow motion in a sense, because now she's like, we're scuffling. Okay. She's shooting in the air. All right. She's shooting in the air. And while she's doing this, and this is the part that, you know, some people may receive, some people may not receive, but I know what happened. And so at this point in the spirit, okay, above my head, this is where I heard it. Okay. It could have just been just happening, but above my head, I heard the Lord and Satan talking, and Satan said, let me have her. And he said, no, I have stuff for her to do. And as they're talking, I'm like, am I bugging? You know, and then I'm trying to think, as I'm hearing that, I'm trying to think, where am I going to run? Because I didn't want to run to my grandmother's house because I didn't want my daughter to open up the door and see me like that.
Danger to the house.
Yes. So I immediately thought about running down the block where there was a bodega. And there were, it was the weekend. So there, you know, there was always like these Spanish men outside, you know, just hanging out and stuff like that. So I said, if I run down the block, someone will see and someone will be able to witness. Man, I started running. This girl takes off running after me. So now in my mind, I'm like, I don't want to get shot in my back. Lord, please. I don't want to get, you know, shot in my legs. I just want to make it down the block. But she caught up to me. I don't know even how fast I was even able to run, but she caught up to me. I had braids. She grabs my hair. I fall on my side, and I held onto this white Trailblazer, and I slid. So I have like this gash on the side of my, on my side.
Okay.
And so I slid, and she comes. I'm holding onto the truck, and she comes around, and she puts the gun to my head, and she's like trying to pull the trigger. And well, she is pulling the trigger, but nothing was happening. And so as she's pulling the trigger, I'm looking at her face, and you can see the anger. You can see everything. It was so much rage and hatred. It was just crazy. And so as she's doing that, she notices that the gun is not going off. And so she turns it around and she starts to headbutt me in my head, right? And when she's doing that, I'm saying to her, okay, all right already, all right. And so the gentleman, the guy that was in the car with her, he pulls up now and he says her name, and he's like, now you're bugging. Get in the car. You're bugging now. You're going too far. You're bugging now. They jump in the car. Another car comes behind. The lady in that car, she had blonde hair. That's the only thing I remember was a black car. And she says, are you okay? Oh my goodness. She starts screaming. And I just said to her, I said, I just need to get to that yellow house. Please help me to get to that yellow house. And so at this moment, I know that it was more than a BB gun, because when I got up, I was in the most excruciating pain in my stomach. It was just all my stomach. It felt like it was on fire. And it felt like my son was pushing out. My whole mind was just like, I just need to get to the house so I can, if I pass out, anything happened, at least I can tell my grandmother who it was. And so I got there, and I took all my strength, and I banged on the door. And my grandmother was like yelling, she was like, oh, who's banging on the door like they're police? She always says that. So I shouted out, like, it's me, mommy, it's me. And I'll say her name. Akila just shot me. And she opened the door, and she just started crying. And from there, it was just like hell on earth for me, but with some glimpse of God's hand in everything. Right. It was just really, really something. And so what happened was, even in going to the hospital, I was rushed to Jacoby Hospital. I couldn't even move, because if you don't know, when you stand up, you contract your stomach, your stomach muscles contract when you stand up, when you cough, when you sneeze, all of that stuff is dealing with your abdominal muscles. And so I was sitting in the lawn chair on the porch, and the ambulance came, and he said, I need to move your jacket. I need you to move your jacket so I can see the wound, or so I can see where she shot you. And I was so afraid, because I didn't want to see a whole lot of blood, and I felt like I was going to pass out. So when he saw it, he said, we need to go right now, because that's not a BB gun. That's not a BB gun. And so they had to literally lift the lawn chair up, because I could not get up, because I was just like, it hurts, So my stepdad and my aunt's boyfriend, and the guy from the EMT and the police officer, he was there. They all lift me up in the chair and brought me in an ambulance, and then scooped me up and put me, down in the ambulance. But got to Jacoby, and I kid you not, my mother told me this a while ago, and because I didn't know how many doctors were in the room. I was just surrounded by so many people, poking and prodding and beeps and sounds and different things. It was 64 doctors. 64 doctors. So they had the whole neonatal team, the whole prenatal team, the whole, everything, just everyone. And I know the doctor had said, I need you to move the baby, because I need to see where she's bleeding. So that is when they, brought me into another room. And I'll never forget when I was being wheeled to the other room. At this point, I wasn't really afraid, because everything seemed to be happening so fast. But the nurse, when I was in the elevator, she whispered to me, and she said, do you know God? I said, yes, I do. And she said, he says to tell you that you're going to be okay. And I just started crying. And the next thing I remember, how, I don't know if you've been in surgeries where they, you have to be put under, they tell you to count back from 10, you know, next thing you only get to 7 and you knocked out, you know,
you're done.
you're done, it's over. And so that's what I remember. And then I remember trying to wake up. I thought I was blind, y'all. Now I can laugh, but I thought I was blind. I was trying to open up my eyes and I couldn't. And that's because they had the tape. They had the tape on my eyes. Like they were calling my name and I was trying to open my eyes. And I was like, oh my God, Lord, I'm blind, you know? And so, but they had the tape on my eyes and they, you know, they took the tape off my eyes. I felt like this thing poking me in my throat. I was just looking around and it was my mother. It was my stepfather. It was one of my coworkers that was like, you know, she just held my hand through it all. And I was so afraid to look down at my stomach. I did not want to look down. Right. I had no idea what had happened. Right. And so, you know, they were asking me if I knew where I was and different things like that. And so just from there, the journey in the hospital, I stayed about a week and a half in the hospital because what happened was what God did. And, you know, even, you know, now pulling information from fast forwarding a year later with the trial. So she shot me at close range. And if you don't know anything about close range, you know, when something is close range, especially on flesh, it's supposed to literally just enter and exit, right? It's supposed to enter and exit. Well, that's not what happened. It didn't enter and exit. What happened was God literally just turned the direction of the bullet. And what it did was it went around my uterus and it lodged in my lower back. So it never exited. And so someone gave me the revelation the other day that God didn't turn the direction of the bullet. He moved my son to the side. He moved my son to the side. And so, and that's how it damaged my intestines. So, because my son, you know, he was positioned, you know, the head is down and everything. And so in him moving my son to the side, it damaged my intestines and that's where I was bleeding. Okay. So in the surgery, they removed, I forgot what the procedure is called, but they removed more than half of my intestines. So I only have, I forgot how much, but then the doctor had to like reconstruct like whatever was left to, you know what I mean, to make it work. So I was supposed to, for the rest of my life, have digestive issues. I was supposed to have, you know, stomach issues. I was supposed to have ulcer issues. And so while I was in the hospital, these are the things that they were monitoring because they wanted to make sure that I was able to hold my food down, that I was able to, you know, that there wasn't any toxic enzymes sitting on top of the stomach. Right. I never even knew anything about that. So I had that thing that was sticking me in my throat. That was the NG tube. And so the NG tube was taking out all the bile off the top of the stomach. It was like a canister like this big. Right. And when I looked to the side, it was just, you know, it was just taking out all of that. And so that's what I had to go through in the hospital as far as learning, not only first I was just drinking and, you know, and I had to hold that down. And can I tell you, it was not, at first I was like, man, I'm gonna be in here forever because every time I drank something, it would come back up. You know, it would come back up. And so after that, oh my gosh, I would never forget my best friend was there. And I wanted to go home so bad that I knew that they needed to know that I was keeping food down before I went home and also to remove the NG tube. So I had, you know, I told a story to the doctor. I said, no, I didn't throw up, you know, whatever, knowing that I had just did. And so they removed the NG tube, but lo and behold, once again, you know, the doctor was actually in the room when I was eating and threw up. They had to put the NG tube back. So this time I'm like, okay, cool. Y'all could do that. You know, what you gonna do, doc? You gonna put me to sleep? And he was just like, no. You're gonna be awake. And I was just like, okay. And then, and at that time I was like, okay, I think, you know, I could be awake. But when he showed me the NG tube and how it has to go in the body, I was just like, you know, at that part, I was done. You know, mind you, my feet are swollen, my hand is swollen, you know, I could hardly cough and breathe. And at this time, I literally was just like, God, whatever they want to do is like, it doesn't even matter to me anymore. I just felt like my body was so broken in every which way.
Mm-hmm.
And so they inserted the NG tube, and I don't know if you know, but it goes in the nose, and it's very, very thick. It's a long tube because it has to go in the nose.
All the way down.
All the way down. Absolutely. And at that point, I was just like, it doesn't matter. I don't care. I don't care. And even at that time too, my relationship with my son, I didn't want him. I was just like, here I am. I told my aunts, I told my grandmother, that we should have went the other route, and here I am, made a decision, and look at me now. That was my thinking then. That was my thinking then. And so back to how the Lord literally just moved my son over, and the bullet is lodged in my back today. They tried to explain it. The weapons specialist was trying to explain, how ricochet is supposed to happen.
Right.
How it's supposed to hit a sharp object and then turn. They could not explain how, it went the direction that it did. There was no explanation,
right.
For that. And that event really, really set me on a journey. Not only now did my father pass away, and I was struggling with, feeling protected, but now, God, you let this happen to me. Like, now I'm struggling with God being my defender.
Right.
I struggled with that for about 4 or 5 years, just like questioning, like, God, if you could allow this to happen to me, like, what else would you allow to happen to me? And so I did. I struggled with that for many, many years. I struggled with not really forgiveness, but addressing people that hurt me, people that, contributed to the whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I went through a time of questioning God for about 4 years. 4 years questioning God, 4 years, looking at my son's birth as like this gloom. And can I tell you, fear and or trauma can really, really affect people to the point wherein that incident happened at 8:30 at night. So for 4 years, every single birthday, I made sure that my son, myself, and my daughter was inside at 8:30 at night. I was not going anywhere at 8:30, because I wanted to make sure when I woke up the next day, I was not in a hospital,
Mm-hmm.
and so that gripped me for like, I had to look like it took a while for me to release all of that and to really trust God as my defender.
Okay.
I struggled with that a lot.
Now, but before we go any further, I want to say 2 things. Number one, it's pretty obvious at this particular point that when the enemy tried to take you out, mercy said no.
Yeah. Yes, okay. Absolutely.
And number 2, it is very evident that this interview is going to go over what the show has traditionally been here for the last few weeks. So for those who cannot stay, I understand you can come back and view later. But what I won't do a part 2. I'm being led that we need to get this now because there's at least one person that needs this message right now in this moment, and I'm not disturbing that flow. Wow. So we can continue because there's more to the story. There's more.
Yeah. So as I was saying in the beginning, how even in this particular event, how God revealed to me that there is absolutely nothing that's happening here on earth, that he will not interrupt the flow of what's going on in heaven, right? And really, really interrupt the program here on earth to make it work on your behalf. Like that's it just brings me in awe. And so another thing that was told to me was like I said, it really wasn't, it's the assignment on my son's life, right? The assignment, how Mary is a really, really key player, I don't want to, she's not a character, but a key person in the story of Jesus, where she was the vessel, she was the, the conduit where Jesus came through, right? And so that's how I see it when now, a friend of mine had told it to me that way. And he literally just, walked me through how God was there with my son, kind of, hey, how you doing? Coaching him through and like, hey, you're gonna hear a sharp, you're gonna hear a loud sound, but I'm gonna move you over here. Don't worry, okay, it's coming now, okay? And like he just really, really painted this picture that blew my mind. And so I'm super grateful to God, because you said that text, and that was what was given to me also, that not only does my son have a great assignment on his life, not only was I the vessel, not only am I going to be the one to nurture and to, train him up, but we are literally walking the text. We are literally walking the text, what you just said, which is no weapon formed against
you
shall prosper. Now the weapon formed, okay? The weapon was formed, but it did not prosper. And so I'm so grateful to God for everything. I'm just so grateful, to him for everything. And can I tell you, so there are some things that he wants me to do that I've yet to have completed. Number one, which I've done, and this was by the grace of God, I wrote a book. I wrote a book, with all of this, and I used my journal. Like this is the book right here that I use. Okay. And because at that time I had went through a breakup with my fiance, and I was really, really I was questioning, like, okay, what's my purpose? Like, what's going on here? And so I had did a solo trip to Jamaica. It was like the most spiritual thing ever. And when I came back, I wrote the book. I was given the grace, because every time someone hears a story, they're like, oh, Max, you should write a book. You should write a book. And I'm like, okay. Like, it's a story. Yeah, it's something that when people hear, they're really, really, shocked to hear. But I didn't have the grace in which, to write a book. I didn't know where to start or anything like that. But I also reached out to, for the life of me, I needed to get in touch with the doctor that helped to save my life. And so I looked for him. I went through all my documents, and I finally found his name, and I reached out. And when I told his secretary my name, she immediately knew who I was. Sure. And I said, and this is going to happen soon, actually, within the next month. But I just told her, I need to come and see him. I have to come and see him so I can say thank you. And I have to bring my son. So she had given him the message, and he's very busy. He's a chief surgeon, okay, at Jacobi Hospital, chief trauma surgeon, I should say. And he was just blown away that he said no time in his career, he does it all the time. He's working with people that got hit by a car, got stabbed, fell out of a building, whatever. And not one time has anyone come back just to say thank you. And so, he invited me to speak at a trauma symposium, but that's one thing that I have to do, because I just feel led to do it, and like I said, to bring my son, because that was many, many years ago. And I remember his voice, I remember his voice and what he said to them. And so that's one of the things that, that I'm definitely going to do. But as far as this story, I've been hearing a lot, like, I don't know what God wants. I know that he wants me to tell the story, and all I can do is just pray that it'll be that God will just do the rest. I tell the story and God do the rest. Right. Whether it's to encourage somebody, like I said, to let them know, like, it doesn't matter what's happening. I don't care what's happening. Okay. God, there's absolutely nothing that God cannot do. When you have a calling on your life, like it doesn't matter. You can make choices to put yourself, reroute yourself and take a detour. God is always right there, just like the great GPS that he is. The GPS, when you take a left turn, you're supposed to take a right, you know what I'm saying? And it just says rerouting, recalculating. Okay. That's God all the time. And I'm so grateful for that, because I wouldn't be who I am today, because of that experience. That experience has really, really helped me to grow more compassion, more graceful, meaning I extend more grace to people. I always have. And even after the shooting, can I tell you, I was taking care of this woman's children with my heart. Like I absolutely love, the two that I was caring for. And it's just, and I've forgiven her, I absolutely have forgiven her. If anything, even the other day, I was praying for her, my heart, just really, really, goes out to her, because I can only imagine the mental state. I can only imagine, where she was at that time. And so, but the whole event really, really just lets me know that, my scars, I embrace my scars now. I'm not super self-confident, or like, so, what's the word? Like,
Super
just,
conscious.
yes, exactly about it. I used to be, I really did. I used to, I really did.
Well,
I didn't understand it.
you do know that even though I guess to some degree you might find them physically unappealing, but here's
Mhm.
the key: they're scars. Scars come by way of a certain healing that is taking place.
Mhm.
So you don't no longer have wounds. You have scars,
Mhm.
and that same healing has taken place at, at such a level as to which the level of wisdom and grace that you walk in now, that helps set you apart. So when you was talking about, from the very beginning that you knew that you were different, one of the definitions of wisdom that I love is knowing your difference from everybody else.
Mm.
And oh my goodness. And those that know me, I'm in this place of being on your assignment,
Yeah.
knowing your difference,
Yes.
because those two are going to allow you to walk in the prosperity,
Yes.
in the success and the provision that
Yeah.
he has set aside just for you.
Yes.
And you have no idea how much I appreciate you coming on here and really sharing that story at that level. Because when I heard it that night, I didn't hear this.
Yeah.
There were parts that was not told that night. And so I know that there are individuals who are watching this right now are going to thank you for your obedience and your willingness to actually come on and share this story at this particular level, because this right here, this is somewhat bearing a piece of your soul, and I understand exactly
Yeah.
what that is.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Yes.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
What I want to do now is actually, now that that has occurred, I
Yeah.
kind of want to fast forward.
Yes.
What was the event, or what led you into total life changes? What happened that kind of precipitated for that happening?
Okay. So briefly in 2015, I, was seeing this black and green thing. People were saying, oh, you drink this tea, lose 5 pounds, right? And at
Mm-hmm.
that point in my life, I wanted to lose some weight. I was going through some
Right.
things in life. And so I had connected with an individual that, not an individual, she's actually my coach now, that I knew from a previous network marketing, and had asked her for a sample. Right.
Okay.
I had got, the sample. So she sent it to me. It worked. And so I had joined the business. I've been in Total Life Changer since then, since 2015. And I worked the business a little bit. This is my first network marketing. Well, no, this is my second. The first one I know, but this is the second one that I was in, but actually really, really was putting my all in with what I know to be my all at the time. And so fast forward, things happen. I really, really couldn't do the business. But last year, so and I'm just, just preceding all of this, I was engaged for about 3.5 years, and then, it didn't work. He left, whatever. So in end of 2018, it set me on this thing of I needed to do some inner healing. And that was like crazy. So when I did that, it was like a whole healing. Like God didn't just work on my heart. He didn't just work on these other things. It was like the whole Maxine, the outside, the inside, like everything came up during this inner healing. And so last year I started to see new faces that I've never seen before in Total Life Changes. And there's just this energy about Total Life Changes. And to me, it just, every single year, it just gets like higher and higher, bigger. And
Right.
I don't even know how to explain it. It's just massive. And so I started to see that, and I started to really, really pay attention to these different people that were winning. And when I say winning, I mean, Like they had getting, like their results, their transformation were phenomenal. They were making extra money, just, by doing the business. So I tapped back in. And so when I tapped back in, somewhere in me, I don't know when it happened, but somewhere in me said, you gonna play full out this time. Because that's what I've been doing. I know there had to be something, but I literally just said, I'm gonna play full out. And that's what started to happen. So I'm telling you, Bobby, man, I was on every training. I mean, eating, taking notes. I'm just taking it all in, taking in everything, taking in, what I need to do, how I need to reinvent myself. I need to do this. I need to do that. And so that year I lost over 25 pounds in the summer, right? This is last year summer.
Okay.
And I was documenting it coming on, social media, and that's not even me. I honestly, I'm not a spotlight kind of person, but I always say, because I've always heard it said, that Total Life Changes is a personal development company with a compensation plan attached, right? Because you have to change, and it starts right here. And so I had to change my thinking towards, it's not about me. Like, you want to help other people. You want to let people know the products work. It's so much bigger than what you think, Maxine. Like, you don't want to take pictures. And so I literally just threw myself out there. And then I just started to transform, started to really tapping into, strategy sessions with my coach, and her saying, all right, you need to transform. You need to reinvent yourself. And so when the pandemic hit, I was like, all right, I got to do something big. I can't control the pandemic. I'm a teacher. I was going, it's very, very challenging. What can I do? Just something big. And so that's when I cut my locks. I cut my locks.
I noticed.
Yeah, I cut my locks, and I dyed my hair blonde. And that's huge. I like this right here. I've never done it. I mean, I'm embracing it. You know what I'm saying? I love it now, but that's what I did. And so when I say that TLC has truly, truly went from my mind to my heart because of everything that it has with it. Like this right here is number one. This right here is number one. The networking, the divine connections with people from all walks of life. Like, man, I love your story. I sat there and I was just like, I told you. And I told, after I heard you, I found you on Facebook. I had to send you a friend request because this is what Total Life Changes is all about. Like, just connecting with like-minded, powerful people on assignment, know their assignment, who hear from God, impacting people. And so in all of that, that's one of the things where I tap back in. Just the connection. I saw people really, really being happy. Not saying we're not going through anything, right? Everybody is going through something that we know nothing about. However, I love the networking. I love the community. I love the energy, the vibe that Total Life Changes provides. I feel like it's a vehicle that anybody can tap into. Anybody, like, you can, as long as you're old enough, you can, you know what I'm saying? You can get started with Total Life Changes. You earn as you learn, you grow through things. So this right here is really why I got back in it, and obviously, the products, I love the products, been taking the products, love sharing the products. And so, but this right here is the main thing. I've met so many beautiful people, just not even in my state, all across the country that I've connected to, share similar things. And so, and that's what it's all about. I feel that's what it's all about. Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny that you had mentioned that you didn't want to, post a whole lot of pictures and, be on camera. I've gone through the same thing because I've never been, the one that really wanted that type of attention. I was more of a background guy, but when purpose is attached to what you're doing, all that goes out the window.
Yes.
It ain't even about you at this particular point. This is your assignment. And I would have never thought in a 1,000 years.
Yeah.
First of all, that, when I was doing this podcast at first, it was all audio. I still wasn't on camera. I was good with that because I was able to get by and slide with it. I can't do that now. So me being on camera for over an hour, no. So something, there's purpose in this thing, because I'm not going to do this just because I don't have nothing better to do.
Right.
Total life changes will literally take you up out your comfort zone if you allow it.
Absolutely.
Just so you can walk in what you're supposed to walk in. I have a friend of mine, Gwen, said to me one night, she said, Bobby, this is the reason why total life changes works for me is because I'm allowed to be myself. And that was so powerful when she shared that with me. And I'm watching you as you evolve. It's like I can go through, of course, when I'm preparing for these podcasts, I'm going through and I'm looking at pictures. And those pictures a lot of times go back a number of years. And I can literally tell, not from just from a physical standpoint, but from a spiritual standpoint, a mental standpoint, you're not the same person as you were maybe even 3 years ago. This is, and I know that something huge is about to happen. And I know it's centered around you finally saying yes and beginning to really tell your story. And I'm gonna tell you, that's when things started to change for me. I have a friend of mine, global director, D'Angelo Malcolm.
Mm-hmm.
In July of last year, he decided to call me.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically shared the same message. He was like, dude, you don't understand how powerful your story is. You don't know, just even at that particular time, how much weight I had dropped. That's not a common thing to drop over 100 pounds.
Right.
He said, what you need to tell your story.
Wow.
He said, your prosperity, your provision, and your success is in your story. I'm telling you, in front of everybody and in front of the whole world, that your prosperity, your provision, and your success is in your story.
Wow.
And the way that
I received that.
The way that you're walking now, and even how you're leading, I noticed that your team loves you. You have some very powerful people in your circle.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Keep rocking with that. Keep rocking with that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now that you're beginning to make this transition, who are you now versus who you were a year ago?
I'm more confident. I'm definitely more bold. I've really have developed some leadership skills that I didn't have before. I knew, like, I'm not afraid to speak. I can always, speak. I'm always called on to speak. I love speaking, but, just being in those trainings and being aligned and attached to those people have really helped me. Like you had said, you had on here, and I love the stories and the testimonies, of the people, everyone. But even being attached to people on my team, like Kendra Jones and, my coach, Dr. Larissa Barclay, who's a national director, just being in alignment with those people, really, they stretch you. And so you have no choice but to stretch. You have no choice but to grow, right? And to really grow through as you go through. And so if anything, I'm so much more of a leader. Like, and I know that, and I just walk in that, and whatever God has for me to do, wherever I can serve, like, I'm a servant at heart. Like, I love helping. I if there's a need and nobody not doing it, I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna just do it. Right. I'm gonna just do it. I'm just gonna do it, and then, and I'm gonna do it, with all my heart and in a spirit of excellence. Right. Because that's just it. There's no other way to do it. And so, if I were to say, it's not a challenging question, but if I were to say who I am, I'm confident. I'm more bold. I'm a leader. And yeah, that's just who I am at this moment, at this moment.
It's always evolving. This is not going to end. This transformation, this is why it is so unique, because it's not so much the weight loss transformation, and those are huge. I went through mine, but I recognize other transformations as well. Total Life Changes offers a literal mind, body, and spirit transformation.
Oh yeah.
This is about becoming whole and complete in all the areas of your life, and at the same time help other people get in position to do the same thing, because everybody has different needs, so everybody don't need the same thing. So this is one of the reasons why Total Life Changes as a company today in 2021 is not the same company as it was when I originally came in 2014. At the end of that year, I had left and came back in 2019, and it was an entirely different spirit, an entirely different vibe, and I began to understand what the company as a whole is after, and it is developing the best out of people.
Absolutely.
And we get paid very well to do it.
Right.
So anybody looking at an opportunity, please understand this is bigger than the money, and the money is good. Don't get me wrong,
Yes.
but there's more. There's more. I have met so many beautiful souls and made some genuine, true connections.
Yes. Yes.
That without Total Life Changes, I don't believe it would have happened. So tonight, I wanted to highlight the other side of the opportunity. The products, man, they're no longer on trial. It's
Right.
not an issue of whether or not they work. It's an issue of whether or not you're going to allow them to work for you. That's all that is.
Period.
That's all what it is. I updated my weight drop, and I actually officially made it known on a call earlier today. I've dropped 170 pounds.
Wow. Come on. Yes.
Okay. So that's why I don't even get somebody want to debate me on the products. I'm like,
Right.
you're talking by yourself. What am I going to debate? Really?
Wow.
But it's so much bigger than that. And I have so much appreciation for this company. I have so much appreciation as far as Jack Fallon,
Yes.
the leadership, as far as corporate, my leadership as far as the team is concerned. And I know that you are surrounded by greatness as well. I mean, as a company, we're celebrating the first grand ambassador.
Yes.
You know, in Coach Stormy Wellington.
Stormy.
I mean,
yes.
I mean, wow.
Phenomenal.
So I know, at least for me, this is the place for me. And I love what I'm doing. I'm walking out my unique assignment and having peace in doing that.
Amen.
So we're going to close. And what I want you to share is that if someone is actually taking a look at Total Life Changes, what words of wisdom do you want to give them, not only as someone that may be looking at this opportunity, but someone who is fairly new in the business, and so they're still trying to learn, they're still trying to fill this thing out. What would you like to share with them?
What I would say is, you know, for the person, even if you're contemplating joining, you know, being a part of this community, if you join and you're fairly new, number one is be here a year from now. That's something that was told to me. And initially, I really didn't know or understand it to its fullness of what it meant. I just thought it meant, okay, a year from now, just still be in the company, you know, but really and truly being here a year from now, when you join, know that throughout your journey, you know, within the company, you're going to be going through some things. You're definitely going to be going through some things, right? You're going to be learning. You're going to have people that say they want to, you know, they're interested in products and then they don't order, they don't purchase. You're going to have team members that are all excited when they join you. And next thing you know, 2 weeks later, because the one person they reached out to did not go to their website, they're all discouraged. So now they don't want to work the business. And that was the person that you were, you know, kind of counting on to help you and different things like that. But just be here a year from now. And as I mentioned before, just commit to growing through as you go through. You're going to, when I say there's going to be so many different things that is going to happen, but just be here a year from now and know that you're going to be going through some things. Number two is commit to the vision that you have for yourself. Whatever your why was when you started the business, commit to that. Even if it was like, listen, I really, really need to lose 40 pounds because I'm not feeling confident. I don't like the way that I look in the mirror. The doctor is telling me that I got to take X, Y, and Z and, different things.
Right.
It's not looking great. All right. Commit to that vision of that why in which you joined, which was, to get some assistance. Like I love what you have there. We don't make any medical claims or anything like that. We just have products that can assist in helping anybody to obtain a more optimum way of life or a healthy living. So definitely commit to the vision that you have for yourself, the why in which you started, and don't let anything or anybody stop you from going after that, not even yourself. Some days you wake up, you don't feel like working out. Some days you wake up, you don't feel like sending out samples. You didn't write your list. You didn't, you know what I mean? Don't let you be the reason why you don't commit to the vision in which you have for yourself. And the last thing that I would say is, this is something that I've learned, and that is, no matter what, be consistent. Consistency is attractive. People can tell when you're in something and then you're not in it anymore. Like, oh my goodness, Maxine posted the NutriBurst bottle, today, and then next thing you know, it's 3 weeks, I'm back on her, here goes new. No, they don't take you seriously when they don't see consistency.
Exactly.
And so consistency is attractive. Like, I've had people who are loyal customers because I'm consistent. I post in my stories. They see that I take the products every day. They know that, oh my goodness, Maxine is still in it. She was here last year, so consistency is attractive. Not only is consistency attractive, but for me, when I'm consistent, I know I can trust myself. When I'm not consistent, I can't trust myself. And what I mean by that is, when I'm consistent and waking up and taking my products and working out, like I have a set time in which I work out, like, it makes me more confident. I know that I'm going to do what I have to do for myself. But then when I'm back and forth, I stop and I go and I stop and I go.
Right.
Like it does something to your confidence. And the thing is too, people can see it. People know, you know what I mean? People know when you're playing. People know when you're playing games, like, man, whatever, you ain't taking that business seriously, so just be consistent. And so those are the things that I would have to say, for anybody that is contemplating joining Total Life Changes, or if you are new in the business. But can I tell y'all, this is a whole energy. Like, I met Bobby through an event, and another thing, I wasn't even at the event. The event was virtual, and I was able to connect with Bobby. So this is what you get also in the company. So if you're looking for, a sense of community, a sense of family, like Total Life Changes, like you'll definitely get that here. Absolutely, hands down. That's what you're going to get in Total Life Change, from the CEO, okay, all the way to the very, very, very newest distributor. Like, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get a sense of community and a sense of family. So, but oh my gosh, I know I'm looking at the time. I'm like, oh my goodness, I done, talk, so long, but I'm so appreciative of, you, Bobby, and what you have here on this platform, and how I'm telling you how you're sharing, because it's all about the stories. It's all about the stories. And this is a huge platform in which you're doing that, and you're highlighting, stories of different people in which maybe they would have never even shared their story. And what God has done in their story is encouraging and is transforming people's lives, just from people, that book that TD Jakes has, Not Dropping the Mic, just opening up, and speaking out. So I want to just, before you close, I definitely want to just say thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I really, really hope that, something I said encouraged somebody, something I said, was the final thing that someone needed to join, to be a part of what we have here in Total Life Changes.
Maxine, I appreciate you immensely. You're always a joy to communicate with. And just listening to that story this evening, I knew that this was going to be special. I knew that we was not going to be on I usually have the shows, I try to peg it between 45 minutes to an hour. I already knew that we was going to go over an hour. I had already dealt with me about that. So I was like, okay, I'm good. Because I knew that you were supposed to be here at this time doing this very thing. And that's all that matters, and I have peace with that. And I'm pretty sure somebody has seen this live and is going to look at it on replay. and the same effect is going to take place. And so I'm honored and privileged that there was enough trust there for you to actually share that story at the place as which you shared it, because that was very real. I appreciate you. I honor you. Big things are coming. I'm not into telling folk what rank and all that stuff they about to do. While all I see is expansion, all I see is elevation. And as you continue to walk your assignment out, there's some surprises for you, and they're going to be amazing. And you are surrounded by some amazing people. I've made a new friend in LaKendra.
Yes.
So
such a beautiful person.
Yeah. So to have somebody like that, and I know there's a number of other individuals, Coach Patricia Crawford, the same way, to just speak into your life like that. Man, that's priceless. I'm blessed just to have some type of connection, just doing this. So thank you so very much. And for the audience that stood and stayed on in there, thank you.
Yes,
thank you, because your time is valuable as well. I appreciate you just taking the time out to support the podcast. Those of you that come later and actually, on replay, please share it as well, because I know there are some individuals that need to hear this special story. Well, look, my time is up. I thank you once again. I'm Bobby P. We want to thank Maxine Campbell for stopping by and sharing her story again. And then, next week, there's going to be another powerful story on the Victim No More podcast.
Amen.
Until next time, peace.
Good night.
Yeah, hold on, Maxine.
I like that.